Hello everybody and welcome back to Sprocket. Today we're going to be taking a look at the vehicle you guys voted for in the last poll. I'm going to be doing that with every future video, so I'll put a poll up alongside this video for you guys to vote on two different tanks. You can pick whichever from those two that you want to see me build next, and that's how we'll be deciding it from now on. Anyways, getting into the video, today is going to be a little bit different because I actually went ahead and recorded while I was working on the tank, so you can see I'll do a little short portion before we get into the actual specs of the tank, where you can see the process of me building it, and you can let me know if you want that to stay in the video, maybe move to the end of the video, or if you like it right where it is. So, without further ado, enjoy that, and I'll see you back here in just a couple minutes. Alright, well I hope you did enjoy that little bit of footage there. Please do let me know what you think in the comments. Like I said, we're going to try to mix things up a little bit in these early videos to figure out what works best and what you guys enjoy watching the most. So if you guys really hated it, do let me know and I won't do it again. But if you liked it and maybe want it to be moved around in the video, again, let me know. We'll shift things around as we proceed with the series and we'll see what works the best. So, as you could see from the video, this is actually a little bit more refined than what you'll see in that because I spent probably another hour or two just refining the design. Nothing major, nothing worth actually recording, but just trying to get the drivetrain, getting the engine tuned perfectly, adjusting the sizing just a little bit, adding some extra details and whatnot. So, yeah, this is what I came up with. I think it actually turned out pretty good. It's very, very close, but there are a few issues you may have already noticed. So first and foremost, this is probably the most glaring issue that this tank has currently. The front of the tank is not correct, and there is just pretty much nothing that I can do about it. This is just artificially limited by the game. I am not able to add another portion here, because if you look at the actual Ferdinand, it comes down here, you have a perfectly flat, or just about perfectly flat plate, an angled bit, and then it angles back. But because I can't angle this piece, you can see it just goes up and down. I kind of tried to just have an angle and then a flat. It does not look correct, and I am aware of that. It also kind of caused this plate to be thicker than it should be, so there was just really no avoiding that. I'm hoping that eventually they'll add another region of the tank that you can adjust, but right now that just does not seem to be the case. The other thing that may not be correct is the exact sizing of these little quarter panels. It doesn't seem like you can't actually drag this plate to be wider, so unfortunately I just kind of did the best that I could. I think the tank is also a bit thicker than it should be, but it's kind of hard to tell. I'm not exactly sure what would be wrong, but I got it as close as I could. Moving on to the turret, there is another... This one's fairly minor issue. The Ferdinand actually has a slope, a gentle slope to it that will kind of go all along the plate and meet up here. So we're missing a bit of armor there, but I kind of sloped the front to simulate that as best I could. Apparently there's a way that you can glitch it so that this is higher, but it's not consistent, so I was not able to do that with mine. The rear is also a little bit wonky because that you just can't quite get the shaping correct, and I know that that does not look correct. There's also the missing circular hatch on the back. I tried to simulate that as best I could, but overall, it looks fairly correct. I think a lot of the issue with it looking too wide is just the fact that it has the wrong mantlet. It's supposed to have an extra spaced plate here, but you just can't do that currently. Moving on to the suspension, I was actually able to get this remarkably close to the real thing. The spacing might not be perfect, but I was just kind of doing it by eye and also adjusting it so that the tank will sit as level as possible. That turned out pretty well. I was able to get the tank with its engine, which I was pretty close to being able to model the engine almost exactly. Oh, great, it changed itself again. I don't know why it keeps doing that. I don't know if it has something to do with the transmission or if it's just not saving maybe. But I had this perfectly tuned to... Oh no, you know what it did? It just changed the RPM that I had it set to. So yeah, it's pretty dang close to what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like 592 horsepower. So it's pretty close as I could get it, because technically the Ferdinand is supposed to have two separate engines, and those go into electric drives. So the single 12-cylinder engine going into the dual transmission is close, but it's not quite exactly what it should be. It should be two 6-cylinder engines, both producing about 300 horsepower. You know what? It's close enough. As for speed, the tank is capable of about 16.5 miles per hour. It's not quite the, I think it's 19 miles per hour that the tank is capable of in real life, but it's as close as I could get it with. I literally spent probably 2 hours trying to tune the transmission on this thing, and I was able to get like 2 miles an hour more, so that's as close as it's gonna get. And you can complain all you want in the comments about it, but I'm not spending more time trying to tune it to get to like 2 miles an hour more out of it. One little note that I figured I'd just throw in here, I didn't actually know this. The Ferdinand has its exhaust ports. I don't know if they come out the side down here. It's very hard to see in videos, but it's actually down here and it blows onto the tracks. I tried my best to simulate that. I think it turned out pretty good. They're in the correct position. The only other real issue that I had with the tank here, aside from the penetration not being perfect, but the gun stats in this game aren't exactly 100% accurate, is the fact that we're about 10 tons, closer to 5 tons overweight, which honestly, I don't exactly know what's causing that, because I've basically put this tank exactly with all the angles and everything, the exact armor thicknesses. So the only thing I can think is maybe the tank is just a little bit too wide in the hull down here, or maybe the torsion bars are a bit too thick. But like I said, I was trying to get the suspension as basically accurate as possible to the tank. So enough talking though, let's see this thing in action. So as you can see, the most important thing to me was trying to get the stance of the tank correctly, which it's not 100%. It's pretty close. I think it should be a little bit more balanced, but it's kind of a bit too rear heavy. But I mean, that makes sense. It's got a giant casemate sitting on the back, and I've never really seen footage of a real Ferdinand driving around, so that might actually be more accurate than you think. I do hope that the dev adds the ability to make the rear suspension a little bit stiffer than the front suspension, because that would kind of help even it out. But I think, unless something changed, this is capable, and it is, of crossing the big trench, so the suspension is working. And I have to say, the tanks are easy to build in this game, but fine-tuning the transmission and everything to work is a nightmare. It is possible, and I'm starting to get the hang of it. I'm probably going to release a video on like tips and tricks I've learned while messing around with it. But man, it is not exactly fun to do. It's literally just trial and error a lot of the time to get it to a point that you want it to be at. But yeah, I mean, a little bit over 7-second reload, which is probably about accurate for the 88mm. My vertical drive kind of screwed itself over. I don't know what happened to that. It was working before. I'm not really sure why it stopped working. Alright, and here we are at the track to do our top speed test. If the tank will stop. Still having a little bit of issues with the steering and everything, but I don't think I think it's just issues with the game, personally. Maybe it's something that I don't have tuned correctly. but it still kind of does that thing where it likes to turn itself randomly. Not nearly as bad as my mouse, but alright. And pedal to the metal, let's see how we do. I was actually having a lot of issues with the shifting in this, but I've kind of evened most of those out, but it was trying to skip most of its gears at one point, but it's doing pretty good now. You can see we're at 15, we're about to cross into 16, but you get very, very slow acceleration in these higher gears. As I said, I could probably tune it to work a little bit better, but it is what it is. And I apologize if you hear barking in the background. Once again, the dog my sister is dog sitting is a lunatic, and barks when there is sound, and barks when there isn't sound, and barks and just doesn't stop barking, and it's driving me insane. Well, anyways, guys, I do hope that you enjoyed this tank overview. I'd like to throw this tank up online for you guys to grab, and I know there's a place that you can do that, but I'm personally just kind of waiting until they add the workshop for it. So before I lose my mind and before you guys have to listen to the barking for too long, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and vote on the poll for what you want to see me build next. I'm thinking that down the road I want to not just build actual like models of the tank like how I built the Ferdinand here, but maybe do like take something like well, just the mouse. That's one tank that I can cover in the future, and do like modified versions of the tank. Like let's say we have the Ferdinand here, and say, all right, well, what could we do with the Ferdinand to make it a better vehicle, make it more reliable, and then we can kind of simulate what that would be like fixed designs, something along that line. Well, I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing here, and I'm wasting all of your time. So if you did enjoy the video, like I said, give it a like, give it a comment, do whatever you feel you need to do, and make sure you vote on what you want to see next. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one.